go.
Hey everyone, it's December 27th, couple days after Christmas. We spent a couple days with my daughter in Christchurch. It was great. Now we're in Arthur's Pass National Park. I'm starting my Shakedown hike number 2. This is called the Harper Pass track. It's about 50 miles or so, and it goes from Arthur's Pass basically to Lewis Pass. So it's up in the mountains. And I follow the Taramacau Valley for about a day and a half, go over a pass, follow a different river until my endpoint. But I'll let you know how it goes, take heaps of photos, and I get to kiss my wife goodbye now. So see you soon. Bye.
Andy's gone. Have fun!
Okay, I leave my lovely wife, start walking up the river. Here's a topo map. Look on the left-hand side, you'll see that red road. I started right there at that hairpin bend in the road and walked up that dashed line to the east of the Taramacau River. It's a braided mountain river, which means it's very wide, nothing but boulders and rocks. So for the first 5-6 miles, it's nothing but walking on rocks. No trail whatsoever, because every trail gets flooded out every time it rains. It's about 10-11 miles to the second hut on this map as I head eastward to Harper Pass, as you can see. A lot of river crossings, tough on the feet, tough on the rocks, but good long day, about 11 miles to the first hut. This is the Loch Stream 4 hut I arrived at later in the evening. Another couple was there. New Zealand huts, everywhere you walk pretty much, there's huts like this, varying from very basic to quite nice. This one is very rustic. I'll show you, you'll see some photos. It actually had hand-hewn rafters. Everything was hand-hewn. The flooring was hand-hewn. You can see the axe marks. It was an older hut from probably the 30s, 1930s, but it's a roof over your head and keeps you out of the rain. But I tented, again, because I'm preparing for the AT. Here you can see the topo map of where the hut is. So the mountains are getting pretty close in. It's no longer a braided river. It's just a fast river as it heads up towards Harper Pass. It can rain a lot in the New Zealand mountains. And here you can see, again, a lot of washouts. So again, the track gets lost. Sometimes you're in the woods. Sometimes it just disappears over a cliff. So again, you have to go down to the river, walk on these rocks here that you can see, up until you find the next place where the track hits the river. In this case, I had to walk up about 800 meters until I finally found the track again. This is a swing bridge. This is a nice swing bridge, actually, for New Zealand. One person at a time. It's not too bad. But as soon as you walk across the river, within another 2 minutes, you're crossing more water. So your feet are always wet. I've never been so wet in my life. Here you can see the Taramacau Valley, the river I walked up. I think as far as you can see the river, I think I walked further back, let's say. But you can see the river I walked up, and I'm heading up to the Harper's Pass right now. Here I am. I finally made it to the top of the Harper Pass. You can see 962 meters, or about 3,000 feet. So I'm actually going from the west coast of New Zealand. So the Taramacau goes to the west coast, and the water flows out into the Tasman Sea between New Zealand and Australia. And as I walk over the Harper Pass, it's like the continental divide. The water actually goes now to the east coast of New Zealand into the South Pacific Ocean. So the terrain changes, the botany changes, the trees change, everything kind of changes. It becomes more drier and less wet, fewer braided rivers, wide braided rivers. Interesting topography. This is another type of swing bridge, but man, I hated this. It's look at it. It's a trapeze. So you're walking on one wire and holding two wires on either side with a backpack on, and you have to watch where your feet are placed. And at the end of a long day, man, oh man, that was tough on the feet and the ankles. I walked across in that thing. I hated it. Wouldn't have, it's the first time I've seen it. And as soon as I got across the other side, there's a French couple who just walked across the river. Smarter people than I was. This was night 2 after a day of walking about 9.5 miles, but up over Harper Pass, which was a pretty hefty climb. Nice, well, actually a bit of a dark hut in this case, Hurricane number 3. I tented again, but they have long drops there, and you can see on the right-hand side a water tank where you can get your roof water from, so that was handy. But a nice flat site and a decent night's sleep. So here's a topo map of where Horinui hut number 3 is. You can see the track, Harper Pass track. And what I did, instead of, when I left this hut, instead of walking on the trail, which goes to the east, the dashed line, you can see a wide river bottom on this map. And someone told me about the shortcut. And this was going to be a long day, a 15-mile hike. And I was tuckered as it was. So I actually took a shortcut and walked down the river valley, which was fairly flat and didn't go up and down in the hills. And it was a wise decision. About halfway through the day, walked across that river valley, so that was, again, a good decision. That's Lake Sumner there. In the middle of the photo, you can see a fisherman, and maybe he did well. He should do well. And so the first half of the day was walking out in the sun, hot, windy, very hot, and the second half was through the woods. Another swing bridge over a river, and I was glad that it wasn't a trapeze one. there was this beautiful valley, and I'm getting near the end of my day, a long day for me, 15 miles, and I wound up going to I think it's called the Hope Kiwi Lodge. Here you can see the topo map showing Hope Kiwi Lodge in a river valley, and again it was beautiful, nice flat side, beautiful hut, very large, spacious, a lot of windows, good tending site as well. And this is where I spent my third night, and it was a long day. Day 4 is the last day, and I have about 10 or 11 miles to walk out to Windy Point and meet my ride home. This here is a hut, a very basic hut, about 16 feet by 16 feet. Just had maybe 4 bunk beds in it and a bench. Very basic. The door actually couldn't even shut. But I had lunch here on my way to Windy Point. But this is an example of a very basic hut. I guess they make signs for the simple people, but I think this sign explains pretty well what happens if you try to overload this bridge. This is the last swing bridge I had to cross just before I got done, and it was a scary bridge. This thing is above the Hope River. It's about 200 feet long, and it seems like it's about 150 feet above the river. And for somebody who's a bit afraid of heights like I am, I had to look straight ahead. I could not look down because it was too spooky. So here's a topo map showing where I finished at Windy Point. Basically, I started at Arthur's Pass, which is a road crossing the mountains, walked 50 miles north, and finished at the Lewis Pass at the next road at Windy Point. And it was the end of a long 4-day, 3-night hike. All right, everyone. Just a quick summary then. What did I learn on the Shakedown hike? So here's a couple points I want to make that might help other people. It was definitely worth making a Shakedown hike. Time well spent for sure. Trying out gear, seeing what worked, what didn't work. Making a list before I left, that was real important. Just thinking through everything. But definitely worth making a Shakedown hike. Trail runners, first time I've used them on an extended trip. And I crossed the water 50 times, 70 times, who knows. It was wet as wet could be. But they were fantastic. I used Ninja sock liners with darn tough wool socks, and my trail runners were Hoka Challengers, I think. And as soon as I came out of the water, I felt fine to keep on hiking. Not a problem whatsoever. And they felt like they were dry almost as soon as I got out of the water. Definitely would recommend trail runners as opposed to hiking shoes or boots. I had thoughts. The first 3 days were pretty tough. I hadn't hiked in 2 years, and I'm thinking, man, can I do this? But I'll tell you what, on night 3, I had a good night's sleep for the first time on the trail, really. The next day, I felt pretty darn good, and that was after a 15-mile day. And all of a sudden, I said, I can do this. And I talked to one thru hiker I met who was doing the TA, which is the T Araroa, which goes from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the South, about 3,000 kilometers, and he says every day is easier. So that was encouraging to me. But that day I felt real good coming out. Still tiring, but I felt like, hey, I can do this thing. So I say that for everyone. The first few days will be tough. You're not sleeping well. But after a few days, you just start feeling better and better. And that's what I've heard from a lot of those through hikers that I met. A couple other things I've got here. Pack distribution. Last time I hiked, my pack wasn't right. And I was actually riding with the pack high up on my shoulders. This time I had the pack lower, and the belt was on my hips, and it really helped a lot. And by day 3 or 4, I just felt like the pack was part of my body. It just felt real good. And also putting the gear in your pack correctly. So having the heavy gear towards your back or against your back, I guess you could say, really made a difference. And the pack felt pretty good. Still felt real heavy putting it back on if you had it off, but it felt like it was part of me, like it was just a shell on my back sort of thing. So I plan on doing one more shakedown hike. In this shakedown hike, I still haven't seen any rain on the shakedown hike, so hopefully it'll be wet. But I'll try some different food. A lot of the through hikers I noticed were using tortillas and either salmon or tuna fish or peanut butter and jelly, that sort of thing. So I'll try that on the next hike. But overall, it was a well worth the time doing this, and I look forward to the next shakedown hike, which I'll do sometime in the next month or so. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'll leave you with a parting shot of my feet.